Perfect. Well, thank you so much to everybody for this opportunity to talk with you. I'm still consider myself a relative newcomer to Florida. I haven't been here quite 3 years, but I'm really excited because I just joined AFC just last month or so. So I didn't know about this opportunity, and this is really cool. I love hearing the different presentations from both library side of things and the Academic Success Center, Writing Center side of things. It's so great because those processes, I'm always making the case that they're so iterative and so jointly joined at the hip that it's really important that we're in the same spaces talking about these things. So I'm really appreciative of this whole forum. I've learned a lot already today. It's been fantastic. I'm just jotting down ideas left and right. So what I'm going to talk about from Seminole State, I know you heard from my counterpart earlier, Joe Houston, from our Academic Success Center, but I'm from the library side of things here. And I'm going to talk about One Button Studios. And One Button Studio in a nutshell, the real quick and simple definition is it's a dedicated space for students to record themselves giving speeches or presentations. It's as simple as that. And we have built 2 of these studios here at our campus libraries. We have 4 campus libraries. Only 2 really had the capacity from a physical space standpoint to be able to develop them. So we have them at 2 of our 4 campuses, our largest campus, Sanford Lake Mary, and also our Oviedo campus. So why, you may ask, would we want to look at doing this? Let me advance the slide here. Oops, I'll get the hang of this here. There we go. So our need, and again, as a newcomer to Florida, I'm not sure if this is the same throughout other state colleges in the state. It may be a very similar experience for you, but I know here at Seminole that our instructors of our basic fundamental speech course, which I know is common across the state, I do know that much, the SPC 1608, but many of the sections of that course have transitioned to online, of course, as our online program, as I know many of you, is really expanded. But the online sections that are taught for this, which are totally online, still require, every section of it that's online, the professors are required and make the students required to record themselves giving a speech to a group of peers. It doesn't necessarily have to be other students. They could do it with their family or something like this. But they have to show that they are actually talking, and then they have to have a camera pan and show that there's an audience of at least 5 listening to them. And so this is a bit of a challenge for the students to be able to do this, to set up everything and make it work. In fact, when I first got here to Seminole State, this was something I noticed right away. Occasionally, students would try to grab library staff members and say, "Hey, can you come in? I need a 5th person, or I need a couple of people to hear me give a speech." And they'd reserve a study room, and they'd gather all of us in there, and then they would do this. They would take some books from the shelves, stack them up, then get out their little iPhone, and maybe they had a little miniature tripod of some kind, but it usually required some balancing act and some real creativity to get everything set up. But so it was really jerry-rigged, right? I mean, and they would try to get the angle right so that they could, get themselves talking, and then go back and edit and hit this to record the audience and all this stuff. But they had to do this, and this was happening frequently in our libraries, where students were doing exactly this, like I say, just rummaging through the stacks to get a high enough stack of books to be able to position their cameras so that they could record themselves talking. So this is really, I was familiar with the One Button Studio from some previous tenures that I had. We'd never actually built one at a college I worked for, but I knew of them, and I thought, well, this would be a perfect solution to this kind of need that we're observing, both from a student side and the faculty as well, because they knew this was a problem for the students also. So we looked at the idea of the One Button Studio, and that's a kind of, I don't think it's a trademark name or anything like that, but it was developed specifically at Penn State several years ago. That's what they called their iteration of it. And you see I've got a link there, or at least URL that you could type in, onebutton.psu.edu, and it describes their whole process that they used at Penn State, and they're really the originators of it. But the key parts of what they did is they made sure it was in the library. They thought that was important to be in a space that would be open for a long number of hours for students to have access to it, instead of putting it in a communication building perhaps that's less accessible or not as discoverable. by students. So they wanted to make sure it was in the library, and they wanted to make sure they were really using high quality AV equipment and lighting to support it. That it wasn't, it wasn't just installing an iPhone, or something like that, or a very basic digital camera, but there was some real technological assistance about this that really made the production value high. So they emphasized that, but at the same time, even though the technology was perhaps complex, they wanted to be sure that it was very easy to use from a student perspective, and that hence you get the idea of the one button. In other words, you walk in and there's really only one button you have to hit to activate the whole mechanism of all this, technology in the background. But to make it, you hit one button and the thing lights up and you're on, and you go and you click a button and you're done. Not too dissimilar from what we're doing here with these virtual conferences. But so they wanted to make it a very appealing from a marketing point. And they did this at Penn State. They've done it at several other libraries. By no means, again, is this original idea for us. But I wasn't that familiar with a lot of necessarily state colleges having it, or other states that I've been in, the community colleges having it. I know often it may be at some of the larger universities where they're able to afford it. We discovered here, I was working with a colleague of mine in our IT department, and we discovered that University of Florida had one in their Library West. And so we visited them. You did a field trip. They were fantastic. Got all of the key personnel that were involved from both the library side and the IT side there at UF in Gainesville, and gave us a grand tour and walked us through all the details. It was fantastic. So they were extremely helpful. Many kudos to them for that. Although they had a little bit of a different angle and on how they did things, but what they showed us was very influential, especially on the technological side. That we were able to make connections between our IT folks and their IT folks and all that technical stuff, which I'm not as well versed in. So that was a real huge plus as well. So what we did is we thought, well, this is great, but we don't have any money. I know everybody's in the same boat with that, right? So one of the great things I've discovered since moving to Florida are these regional, cooperatives that we have are fantastic. We're at the southern end of the Nephlin Regional Library Cooperative, and they've just been superb. They have all these great funding opportunities that they've offered. We've applied for many of them. Some we've been awarded, some we haven't, but the opportunity to just apply is fantastic. And we actually were awarded $10,000 or just shy of that as part of their innovation grant program, and that's what we had dedicated. We made a proposal that we were going to build one button studio with that money and detailed all the costs. And but there had to be some matching funds as well from our side of the house, and we got that direct support from our IT and our media services department. Really, the labor, they promised to support the labor to help install everything correctly, and also our facilities, because we did need to do, as I'll get into here in a little bit, do some room renovation, slight room renovation, but still it was an expense. And our facilities group here at the college helped out with that on the college's dime, not the grant money. The grant money went really specifically just for the technology pieces, the camera, the lighting, which I'm going to show you here in just a second. So again, we partnered with our media services department. They were fantastic. They had great experience with a lot of this, and they went out and did some research after we won the grant and found that there's a vendor out there called Extron. Now, whereas UF had done a lot of different things, they hadn't used the specific product from this company called Extron, and they had actually modified and kind of used different pieces together. But this Extron company kind of had caught wind of all of this going on in colleges and other settings and had developed something very much marketed to the need, and this box which you see in front of you, which is not very big, but calling it their one-touch recording solution, which essentially does what the one button idea does. It is meant to be just a one-touch, very simple interface. There's a start button to record, there's a stop button, not much more than that, and it's meant to be highly intuitive for students to be able to use. So thankfully our media services team found that, and they found at a fantastic price. We found that the stations the cost was low enough when you put in those two Extrons and all two sets of equipment for the two different rooms, that we were able to expand it to a second studio at our Vito campus. And we selected a Vito first, a lot primary reason was, again, they had space, but it also happens that they have a lot of students that are taking online speech courses that reside in the area and use that Oviedo campus for other reasons. So it worked well with that for that purpose. So we ended up building two with the one grant, two for the price of one. You can't beat that. And that was well received. And in fact, one of our speech professors, who's a strong champion of the studio and coordinates our adjunct faculty that teach the Intro to Comm course, works primarily at Oviedo. So it was helpful for that reason as well. And here's a little bit of some of the things we set up. You know, it's not just a camera. It's lighting. It's the sound. We had to tinker with a few things. The microphone had to be adjusted because it was picking up too much sound. Something we hadn't thought about, just to let you know, is we have a white noise system in our library, at our one library, the big one. The Oviedo campus didn't, but here at our Sanford Lake Mayor campus, we had a white noise system in our library, and so we had to disable the specific white noise speaker that was in just that room, because it was, when you did a video recording, it was picking up that, that kind of ocean roar rush of the white noise. It really picked it up. But we figured that stuff out, again, with the help of many people on our media services team in particular. So there's also a station that provides computer, and you can see the camera again in a different context, and you can see the little one touch thing is right directly under the monitor, and in between the keyboard and the mouse. That's the size of it to give you a perspective. But our IT department, we got the station and we got the computer, and got that all going so that it's an easy to use interface. It's not like you're recording yourself, then you have to go to some other room and a different computer look at it. No, you can pull it all up right there and see how it goes. Again, and the other part the other cost part was our facilities department provided one of our rooms that we use. One of us was fully enclosed with no window access, but the other room had windows overlooking, parking lot, and it just had the very, the blinds that were pretty transparent. And so we worked with them to get, solid opaque blinds that would keep the lights out. That would help with that part of it. So they helped tremendously with that. For reserving these rooms for students, we use the LibCal system from SpringShare, just as we do for our other study rooms. And we took two of our the space we used were two of our existing study rooms, and we basically converted them into these studios, maintained them to be accessible through the same reservation system as we use for our study rooms, but they're separately marked, separately dedicated. Here, let me see. I'll drop in the. Let's see if I can do this here. Drop in the. There's the URL for our LibGuide that goes specifically to the studio, and information about the studio, and it has our policies there. It has our set of instructions for how to use it. And basically what students do is they come in just as they would have to get keys to use our study rooms anyway, and check in at our main information services desk, our circulation desk, and they have to do the same process here. And when they do come, they're given a key to the room, but not only a key, but also a thumb drive that is used. The thumb drive is part of the system, because you put the thumb drive in, and that actually is what turns on the everything, the camera and the lights, once you insert the thumb drive, and then you hit the start button, and then it's starting to record you. So the thumb drive comes with the key when we give that to students. We've posted the instructions right there in the room, and communication faculty, our SPC 1608 instructors, have actually taken that, modified, distributed that to their students so that they're equipped. And we have faculty, especially our full-time faculty that teach these online courses, that have really worked closely with us and gotten things going so that they can make sure everything, they've come in, we've given them walkthroughs and shown them how to do it, and then they come in and do the same with their students and really promote the use of it. Let's see what else. So the lessons we learned when we first set up the computer, it wasn't networked. Because there was some concerns like, how many people are going to, should it be locked down? So there's a security issue from the IT perspective. But we quickly learned, no, that doesn't really make any sense, because it's really kind of annoying for a student. They could watch themselves, they could see the playback, but they couldn't upload it to the learning management system. They couldn't email it, any of those things. So we made sure that the computer was networked so that students log in as an individual login that they would use for any Open Lab computer, and then they have the capacity to do all of that. They can upload it. Again, we use Canvas as our LMS. They can upload it to the course specifically, or do whatever they would like at that point. And again, what we've also learned is that this is not only good for our SPC folks, and we've certainly promoted it heavily with them, but we're learning as we're starting to partner and the word's getting out, other folks, not only other faculty from other classes are interested in this, but we're also partnering with some of our co-curricular programs, our Hope Scholars programs for underrepresented populations. They have just recently partnered with us because they wanted to have students in that program have the experience of recording, talking a little bit about themselves, just a video introduction of who they were, a 3 to 5 minute video introduction. So it's perfect for that. We've also started to work a little bit with our Career Development Center. One of the things, and this is brand new to me, I had no idea about this when we built it in, but that a lot of employers are now not only looking for a resume, but a short video introduction of yourself. So we're hoping, down the road, that this may become the point, for students if they need to do that. If an employer is expecting, well, I want to have a short video introduction of who you are, that this One Button Studio really allows those students to provide that. So many uses. One thing I will say, though, and we've had several conversations with other colleagues that have similar studios, is we really try to encourage to the faculty that this is meant for the students to use. Often we do have faculty, that would want to maybe prepare their lessons or record their lectures or record presentations that then they would do. Thankfully here at Seminole, we have some dedicated space on our campus that is for that purpose. That is for faculty and instructors to use to record themselves. So typically we try to keep this because we don't want it to get overrun necessarily with faculty using it all the time. It's really meant to be a student-focused space. And so we really haven't had too much problem with that, especially since the faculty do have another resource that they can use. And people have been pretty understanding of that. Next steps, we did a great, I'm going to pop this in the chat as well. Our marketing department here at the college was fantastic, and they put together just a very short 1-minute video for us that I encourage you to check out. It features one of our speech professors who's really a champion of the One Button Studios, and just well produced. And so we market that. We try to get the word out through, library has a Facebook account, but the college Facebook account as well. But really the strongest marketing has been our speech faculty themselves encouraging it and sharing with their colleagues who, again, like I say, maybe outside of the speech department. It's great for journalism or theater even. There's many potential uses both within the curriculum and co-curricular activities as well. We're hoping eventually to maybe buy a green screen. We didn't have enough money in the original funding for that, but that would be perfect again, so that you could do a presentation and then, reporting live from London, and you have, London behind you when you do the editing. So that would be pretty cool. But that's a little bit down the road. That's kind of next step that we'd like to pursue, and we'll be working with faculty. But the key is, again, we didn't want to just build this and just say, hey, students, come use it, without knowing there would be some demand. And partnering with our faculty in our Arts and Communication department has really generated that interest and that use. Let's see. Oh, that's it for me. There's my contact information. I think I've stayed within time. I know we started a little early, so I think I'm right at about 20 minutes. So if there's any questions, I didn't see any in the chat, but I'm happy to respond.